So today we've got the ratings on Radar FC, the website is back up, and we want to have a look through some of the Premier League's best players that you can get, players that you can evo, and great starter / advanced players that you want to see. So we start off at the top. Now, I don't think it's going to come to any surprise that the top players are always normally going to be in that best suited role. Obviously Virgil van Dijk, Saliba, maybe Gabriel, depending on the pace meta, that's going to be the biggest thing, is going to be the more acceptable top-end players. You look at your Raya, you look at your Alisson, they're going to be the keepers that you want. Now, obviously, Playstyle Plus changes, obviously with the Role Plus Pluses and all of them, are going to make a massive impact that we need to see when the game comes in. Obviously, you've got a lot of people on Twitter, the leakers, the data miners, that will give you some kind of hints towards what's going to actually work, but it doesn't necessarily fit your playstyle every time. Now, over the next month, we'll figure that out pretty well. So we're going with speculation at the moment. Now, when it comes to in-game stats, we know what tends to work in the grand scheme of a game. Pace is always superior, no matter the game. It works. That's the whole point of the game. I do think passing is going to be very much on that forefront to the very start of the game, purely on their new mechanics of that kind of quick passing, the the incisive dribbling where it's very, very technical. It's going to be interesting to see if there is any outliers, because we know Saka's normally pretty decent, but he's never really what you want for an 88 rated card. He's never just... You've got Salah, who's always incredible. Saka just never seems to have that almost high-end card from the start. It takes an upgrade, it takes another playstyle plus to really warrant a card going forward. Now, obviously, we were looking at defenders on this. If we go through goalkeepers all the way through, if we go... Where's the position? We'll look at goalkeepers first. So, obviously, there's going to be two standouts here. Alisson will always be a number one there. David Raya will be the second one. Now, obviously, Donnarumma has got to come into the game, so he will most definitely put himself as that top three. Ederson is going to be taken away. Realistically, if I was looking at the list and thinking, who do I go through first? I think the two clear outliers, or at least three, in fact, because Pickford isn't always terrible. He's just never really the kind of number one I'd go for, because then you'd probably just go straight into the Martinez. I'd be looking at Pope. I'd be looking at Vicario. Them two always seem to be on that solid sort of start, and they're normally very cheap, so they would kind of be my start cards. Martinez most definitely would be the one in the middle, and then we do have Raya and Alisson and Donnarumma that would come in on that final one. In terms of evolutions, it's very difficult to say, because we haven't had any goalkeeper evolutions in the entirety of evolutions for the 2 years. I don't know how well they're going to upgrade them. There could be anybody. You could go with a Pope and upgrade him even further. That's going to be purely based on what you personally prefer. If we then look at the right backs, again, rating-wise, not necessarily star-studded, is going to take a big upgrade, but I think straight off the bat, Frimpong is always going to be that great wing-back sort of card, and Ben White's just not going to be the one. I feel like it's going to be Timber, depending on which position you want to actually put him, because according to this, I don't know how in-depth, if we know fully all of this, the positions and all of that are absolutely true. Timber's going to be the one. Poro, always going to be exceptional. I think James will definitely do well with an Evo. I think he's got no worries there. Munoz would be the exact same. So if you're looking for coins, check in the description for El Dorado. Depending on the coin amount that you're looking for, the delivery time is displayed on the website, and you'll see lots of different trusted sellers with reviews on specifics, and also the ability to be able to pick who you want. It will also show how much they have in stock, and obviously you can see that they are verified members. There is 100% refund ability and also 24/7 support if you need any questions with your coin needs. Also, if you head over to Trustpilot as well, you can see over 30,000 upvotes for them. You can see how reliable they are. Obviously great feedback across the entire board with El Dorado. So when on checkout, make sure you are using the code JT11 for 5% off your order every time. Discount code JT11. Now let's get back to the video. I'd possibly be looking, if Wan-Bissaka's got a Playstyle Plus, as a starter card, that's going to come in really handy. You won't realize the difference a Playstyle Plus truly makes in a card from the very start of the game. Obviously, one of the best evolutions that we're going to be seeing. Walker's going to absolutely be up there. So that is just going to be the easiest one to go with. If you are looking to make some profit straight away, he's always going to be. He's going to be a fan favorite across the board. If we look at the left backs, again, we're kind of seeing a bit of an upgrade there for obviously Cucurella. Kirkez will be an interesting one to say the least, as last year during his team of the season he was fantastic, so that's going to definitely put it into perspective. If I was looking at Evos, I think Lewis Skelly will be one, just purely on name principle. Hato, again from last year in the Eredivisie, worked really, really well with an upgrade. Even Matteson wasn't a bad evolution, or at least an upgraded version of somebody, so they're always going to be my kind of more fan favourites. Obviously, the top end in terms of fullbacks never really been the same in the Prem. Since we had like the Evra days, obviously if you go further back, you have your Ivanovic before he went into centre-back, and then you had, I think Asp was kind of in a right-back as well at one point. I know he transitioned into a centre-back. Robertson, obviously with Team of the Year to be honest, and then Trent is another one that was a high rated, but I didn't really fancy him as a right back. It was always going to be Walker purely for that pace. Ain't Nuri as well is going to be another one that would be a solid starter one. And I must admit, going from last year, we get the same principle for him. Undogi was unbelievable as a very cheap beast to start with in that left back. Now, obviously for centre backs, this is where the Prem really step up their levels for their top 3, top 4. Obviously Virgil van Dijk will always come in at number 1. In game, that will not change whatsoever. I feel like they could drop him down to an 88 and he still would be perceived as that best centre-back. He is always going to be fantastic in this game, and the moment you get him, there's a centre-back locked off for pretty much most of the game, and as soon as you can evo him, absolutely beautiful. Gabriel is going to depend on pace. If the pace is a massive thing, I think if he had Anticipate or a perceived top-end playstyle plus, that would be personally where I would go. And I don't know actually if these are... No, I don't think any of these did have playstyle plus. I don't know if these are playstyle pluses they had prior. So that again could be completely wrong. But judging based off what I see, Gabriel will still be under it, unfortunately. I do think Saliba will definitely be up there. And then to be honest, I think jumping straight into the third spot, Konate is going to be the easiest one. And we do have a drop-off from 85s to 84s. Whether we see any changes, whether we see any upgrades, I know there's players moving left, right and centre. That's going to always be interesting to see if it does change. One of the best cheap beasts that you'll find, or I don't even know if it'd be cheap to be honest. He might just be a 10k max. Van der Ven is obviously going to be up there. I don't think he was a 10k last year. I swear it was like 50, 60. So he might just be a low rated beast more so than anything. I think Romero would be a solid centre back. Again, like Gabriel, pace is going to be a big factor. I think Akanji would definitely be coming up there, and I do think Konza as well. You could argue Murillo as well, to be fair to him. And I think Ake was always kind of that left back, but could potentially be perceived as centre back. And then obviously you go a bit further down. If Guehi did manage to get a little bit more pace, that would be exceptional. And really then you're kind of looking at a Colwell really for more of an Evo. Maguire needs more pace from the get-go already, so that's always going to be interesting in itself. Then we move into CDMs. I think you've got the absolute class here. Rodri is always needing pace, and that will come eventually. Rice is kind of your sit-down CDM, but I think the one that will definitely be the best out of the bunch is got to be Caicedo. Now, again, three-star. I think Tonali will definitely trump him in a centre-mid sort of vibe, but definitely as a CDM, Caicedo's body type mixed in with obviously the stats he's got is going to be incredible. And then Gravenberch, I personally like him more as a box-to-box personally. His dribbling and passing really work going forward. And I am shocked he's got no playstyle pluses, but we are on the slower power curve. Again, that's where I'm like, Tonali doesn't have one, Rice doesn't have one, Gravenberch doesn't have one, but Xhaka does. It's very random on their choosing. If they do choose it that way, fair enough. So I think they're going to be the ones that would definitely be the optional ones. Baleba, I could probably see coming in quite expensive to start with, at least for that cheap sort of side, maybe for the first day or two, and then he'll definitely come in as that kind of lower rated beast. Same as Zubamendi. We're going to see an interesting start because 83s, 82s normally get the upgrade first. Whether they're going to slow that evolution down, that's going to be the beg to the question, to be honest. And if you go a bit further down, Onana's obviously going to be a great one in there. Endo, and this is it, the pace side of stuff, it seems to be, it's gone down across the board. So I'm hoping that is the case going forward with this, really. But you're going to kind of see a few people that's going to be in there. Basuma, Lavia is going to be in there as well. Adams, with the pace, if you're going pace orientated, could be an interesting one. So CDMs have kind of knocked it out there. Centre mids, I think Reyners is going to be the one here. He was exceptional last year with his team of the season. He started this season very, very well. Could we see upgrades early on for him? That's going to be the interesting part. And I do think he's going to be the perceived one to go in. Odegaard is going to be pace orientated, especially when he's got Wirtz just above him in that sort of rating. So that's going to be interesting. And I think McAllister in that sort of cam role, if you could add a position to him with a little bit of a pace upgrade, could be a nice one in that. Not necessarily top tier, but mid to higher tier from the very start of the game. Bruno G, obviously. Even Enzo, I think, as well, with a little bit more of a pace, will be fantastic to go in on the start. Moreno, Gundogan, probably see Kulovetsky. Is he going in the centre mid? That could be an interesting one, to say the least. I don't know what... His body type really wasn't defensive, so... You'd probably be looking on him as a right wing still, to be fair. Andres Santos, I think from Liga, and I want to say, team of the season was exceptional. Could be a nice starter centre mid more so than anything. And again, you're going to get the same evolutions of obviously a Santos. You'll see maybe Menu in there with his lower rating. And if you go a bit further down, we got Silvers, and obviously it might not have every single player, like I said. So they're going to always be interesting. I'd probably say they would be the ones I would be looking for. Then into the cam roles. Obviously, Odegaard would put himself in a cam more so than a centre mid. I do think he would be below Wirtz at this point. Wirtz looks very, very nice in his overall stats. 4 and 89. Great dribbling, great passing, bit of pace compared to the rest. Shooting's there, but you could add a Hunter onto him and he's going to be absolutely fine. With the incisive as well, that's going to be one to go for 100% of the time. I do think Palmer would be another one this year. He kind of wasn't really that right mid card in my opinion. He was always based around a cam, so I personally would look at him more as a cam more so than anything. I think Bruno's going to need some serious upgrades at this point. As an 87, he's going to be great for like a day one. You pack him, you put him in the team, he's going to do well for that, maybe even a couple of days. If you're going against kind of the top end, I think he gets run out very quickly. And I do think Szoboszlai this year, potential. He's already had an amazing free kick from against Arsenal. So could we see upgrades for him? I don't know whether he's going to, I know he played right back as such, but is he going to potentially get an upgrade there more so than getting upgrades in his cam? That's going to be the interesting part going forward. Obviously for me, Cunha is going to be one that I would like to be upgrading as an Evo, but that would come down to a Man U team more so than anything. Same with Eze, as an Arsenal player now rather than Palace, he will definitely be one you'll be looking at Evo in very soon. Same as Rodgers, and to be honest, same as White as well. There's going to be some nice cams that you could see going up. Ahmad for my Man U team would be there, and as you go further down, Liverpool fans, obviously for Harvey Elliott if you're going for a past and present, or going for a Villa if you're going there as well. Mount, probably not. Garnacho, as obviously a cam for Chelsea, could be interesting. Smith Rowe, if you wanted a very, very niche upgrade there, more so than anything, which is going to be fine. Then we move into the right wings. This is where it gets a bit interesting, as obviously with Salah, is he a striker then or something? Where has he gone? Oh, he's a right mid. Oh. I mean, okay, we don't get the right mids on this, apparently. So if we're going... Does it come into right wing back? They've just not got the right backs on here. Okay, so that might take some of the wingers out. But obviously we know Salah is the kind of number one there. I will kind of double check down the list in a second. We don't have other positions there. No, apparently not. So in terms of the right wings that's obviously presented, Saka's going to be a player that will do well to start with. But I do think he would get outrun quite quickly. I don't think... the upgrade for him, he's just never that level in my opinion. The 3-star, 4-star, you definitely go with kind of your Salah over him. And I think even Mbeumo with the pace upgrade, if that is going to be the main factor for a wing, he's already better in that aspect. Now, obviously with Saka, if passing has really been implemented incredibly, you are going to want that more so than anything, and the dribbling factor will be fantastic for him. But in terms of what the price is likely to be for Saka at the start, it's going to be interesting to see the contrast in price differences and if he really checks all them boxes. Savinho, always a great starter. I think Alanga's going to be a great one. I think Madueke, Kudus, Glenn Johnson, to be honest, as well. Even Nwaneri coming in as now the 76, a massive upgrade for him. They're going to be that starter right wing. You can get away with them. They've got good pace. They might miss a few shots. It's natural. You've got gold cards. It's not going to be top-end promos from the very start of the game. It is going to be back to basics, looking at Adama down the wing, getting the pace abuse, and just constantly going on the goal. Now, obviously, I don't know right mids in this, so it's going to be very difficult to kind of suss them out, but when we do get some of them, if there is some massive ones missing, like I actually don't know where Adama did go in fact, to be fair. That's not going to be clubs. We'll have a look at him at the end anyway, but there's always going to be an interesting factor there as well. If we get rid of this, again, we'll have the same for the left wing. We need the left mids in here as well, but Sonny Baby unfortunately has been moved, so we're now looking very short on the lines here. Whether we see Eze be able to play the left wing role, obviously Martinelli's going to be the big shout here for the pace, same as Gordon. I feel like Gordon's going to come in as a higher price bracket as the 83. Trossard might be just is what it is. Dogu could be the new Adama side, just absolute pace with that rapid is always going to be interesting, whereas Grealish is more of a cam in my eyes. I know he plays on the wing, but the pace just does not go enough. Same with Sancho, obviously being at Chelsea now. The pace isn't there. Odegaard could be an interesting one for a very, very low rating one, but more than likely, you won't just stick to one league. It can be all of them. This, unfortunately, is just for the Premier League. Now, obviously, centre-forwards, right-wing backs have all gone, which leads us to the striking role. Now, for me, Haaland is obviously going to be incredible. I feel like he's going to be back to best this year. I just got a funny feeling. Him and Isaac are going to be exceptional in that top-end sort of strikers. Gyökeres, in terms of rating and in terms of stats, that could be an interesting one. I feel like his card will exceed his positioning in actual football. So whether we see more upgrades for him, I think he's going to be another one that will absolutely be up there, but it might take a little bit to get him. Watkins, Marmoush, Hugo, I think Ekitike is going to be brilliant. The only thing with him is that shooting needs a massive upgrade. He's got great pace, some decent dribbling. I do think a playstyle plus added, a bit of shooting on him, that's really where we're going to see the best from him. And I will say, keep an eye on him this year because I do think he's going to be one that's evoed instantaneously as soon as we get that 83 striker evo. Obviously, Watkins will be more of the cheaper ones. Marmoush, again, will be more expensive. I think Hugo and Marmoush will be will be more expensive than Watkins in this. We do then have the likes of Mateta, Chris Wood with the low pace. If I was looking at kind of your lower end, I think Jackson's going to be a nice one. João Pedro is going to be a great Evo one from the start. Obviously, Nunez has moved away. We might see a little bit of Sesko from Man U Evo more so than anything. Same with Delap. I think he's going to be one that will be worth at least having a look at going forward. Normally, you kind of look at your Wilsons as kind of your very, very cheap end sort of strikers, and then obviously you've got the likes of Xerxes for Man U, Tell being a very tall striker coming in as well. Højlund has moved, so it's an interesting debate, to be honest. There is quite a few players that you definitely will see in a lot of people's teams. Everybody kind of almost gravitates to that Premier League sort of vibe, and then we kind of mix out soon as we get the first icon, soon as we get the first top-end player from La Liga, from Liga 1, that's when you start then mixing the team up and starting getting your chemistries in. But it's an interesting one. Let me know down below who you're going to go for. Are you looking for a specific team straight off the bat? Are you going for Evos only? Let me know what you think. Make a comment down below, and I'll catch you all for that next one. Peace.